If marketing your care service is part of your remit and you're wondering where to get started in using AI to help you, then today's pod is for you. My name is Dave Mance, and today I'm joined by Carl Roberts, Director of Sales and Marketing at Boutique Care Homes. And Carl's going to share some of his experiences and sort of simple first steps that he took in using AI to be more effective in his role, and ways that you can learn from that, and we can all learn from that. Great to have you here, Carl. Welcome.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
I thought for a while this pod would never happen because I was struck down with terrible, terrible man flu. While I was feeling
Equally
sorry for
afflicted.
myself, yeah, you were sort of struck down by. You were actually serving on the front lines, though. I think when you lost your voice, weren't you doing? Was it Dementia Action Week or Care Home Week?
Yeah, it was Care Home Open Week, and it was the week of the National Dementia Care Awards. So I squeaked my way through that award ceremony, not at all being a martyr about it, but yeah, it was frustrating to say
Very
the least.
brave. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. The medal's in the post. So
Your yeah you I saw you did pretty well in those awards. Congratulations. Don't you
thank
have
you.
some crazy stat you were telling me that it was like a number of people or a number of hours you're trying to do on awareness raising or something like that?
Oh yeah, so dementia personally is a massive passion of mine. So I'm an ambassador for the Alzheimer's Society, both professionally and as a volunteer. So I go around local schools and colleges in our communities where we have our care homes, and try and raise awareness and provide a base level of education to young people about what dementia is
Amazing.
and how we can make it make dementia friendly communities. But yeah, I'm on a mission to hit 2,000 this year, so just a couple of hundred away now. But yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, you're doing well.
we're getting there.
Did you?
And
I'm
yeah,
just
and
interested. I always love hearing. I was just going to say I'm interested in just hearing like how did you end up in the care sector and how come you got that real heart around dementia? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, sure. So, so I joined the care sector in 2018. Prior to that, I was working in financial publishing, running events for quantitative trading and risk management and private equity. So, a slightly different world. And I had a couple of years in property investment, and all throughout that period, I was running a part of the team running a community cinema in my hometown, and I was a local councillor as well. So I was always very involved in community projects, and was getting a bit fed up with going into London and the sort of corporate financial world, and felt there was always something more to
Mm.
a career. And I saw there was a role came up at my local care home for a customer relationship manager, and it sort of ticked all those sort of personal passion boxes, and took the step across and never looked back. So
That's very
yeah,
cool.
it's been life changing. So yeah, very
Oh,
very
that's
fulfilling.
awesome. I'm finding more and more through the course of doing this pod that I keep interviewing people that seem to be like have achieved a lot, or just done a lot of interesting stuff. Like you've been a counselor and all that. You're still, you're looking still fairly young, so you're doing
Thank you. It's
you're
all that
doing
eye
well. You're
cream and
doing
moisturizer. That's the secret.
Yeah. Well, we'll get in your oil of Olay sponsor
That's
at the end.
exactly, that'll be a follow up pod.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some chat about AI. Your experience of AI. Why don't you just kind of start by telling us what was the first thing you did with AI? How did you first sort of bring it into your work?
Sure. So we started using AI in marketing at Boutique Care Homes a little over 2 years ago now. I joined the provider in October 2022, and we started using it more actively sort of March 2023, April 2023 time. So yeah, just over a couple of years ago now. Being a small provider, we're a very lean team, a great team, lots of fantastic experience, but in terms of the marketing department, it was myself and having the great support of our team at head office. So what we needed to do is find more efficient ways of being able to create content, um, get our homes marketed out to their wider communities with a very small team, and as you may have seen on our social media for all of our homes, there's some amazing stories happening at a rate of knots. There is always something every week that we could be writing about. And we just didn't necessarily have the bandwidth to create that sort of organically. So when ChatGPT became more open, more accessible for us as Joe Public to start using, it started off by going, right, we've got a series of events coming up. We need to create some blogs to help promote those. I've got 2 hours to do this. Let's use ChatGPT. Let's see if there's a way that can help us create some content. And by the end of that session, it completely revolutionized and changed the way that we've done all of our marketing thereafter in terms of content creation.
Yeah. And so let's get into just some nice practical first steps. So someone in that same position that you were a couple of years ago needs to kind of crank up their content production. Let's just start with like a simple example, like it could be a blog or a blog series, something like that.
Yeah.
How would you recommend they go about it?
So, I mean, as I say, for us, the initial process was around creating sort of blog website copy to help promote events that were coming up at the home, and then that naturally evolved into using AI to help us write stories about residents and team. I think one of the mistakes I made early on with it is being overly reliant on it. And I recently, about just over a year ago now, went on to another podcast with which I was listening to with the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and there was a lady who was hosting that called Kerry Harrison, and she presented the model of the AI sandwich, which I think for someone new who's coming into using AI for their marketing, it's a really simple way of approaching it and not losing that human element. And the model in itself talks about, applying your human intelligence first, your HI, getting yourself to stop, to pause, to write down, what your objectives are, what's your strategy behind this piece that you're about to create. Use all that amazing human creativity to start building what that would ultimately look like for you. Do your own research, initially, and then crafting really excellent, concise, guiding prompts to then apply into that AI. Letting the AI do its incredible thing, writing something, then reapplying your human intelligence to it around crafting it, refining it, sense checking it, and fact checking it. And then, if necessary, rinse and repeat until you're happy that this is something. I mean, absolutely would never advocate asking AI to, write me a blog about dementia care, copying it, pasting it, publishing it, because the risks around that are too exposed, and you'll just end up with the same nonsense that everybody else may be producing if they're asking simple prompts like that.
Yeah, I love that sandwich model. I just think that's so simple. I think it's also really, really good for training other folks in your, not just in marketing, but like across, if you're, I know we'll go into that in a bit, but like training people across different departments, giving them just that really, it's so simple, but it just feels like a really helpful level. And then
Definitely.
let's talk about, so you mentioned, a great prompt, really think it through at the outset. What are the models that you use for just coming up with a good prompt?
So when we've trained our teams at a home level to utilize AI, the model we've sort of adopted is the GCSE prompting model, and that follows 4 pretty simple steps to help you write an effective prompt in the first instance. So it's always setting out with the goal, so clearly stating what you want that AI model to generate for you. The C stands for context, so making sure that you're providing it with as much detail as possible to sort of set the scene for that AI. You could include who your target demographic might be, the nature of the sort of project or story that you're talking about, the sort of time of year that it's going out, as much detail as possible to give that AI the context of of what you're creating. So, it might be that you're creating a dementia blog about supporting a loved one living with dementia, but giving it the context of you want to be able to use this information at Christmas. Simple as that. It's not rocket science, but it's about giving it as much info as possible at that time. The S stands for sources. So, that could be, an academic source. So it might be, here's a link to a supplementary blog from the Alzheimer's Society to help draw information from. But again, within context, making sure you're asking it to cite and properly reference that content, because, the risk with AI there is that there's a lot of question marks around plagiarism. So again, if you're using AI, making sure that you're crediting those original sources if you're going there. But it also might just be a reference. So you may have written a past blog that you're really happy with the flow and the tone of voice and the structure. So you might upload that into the AI and say, look, I want you to base it on this model. So I've got a template that I use for contacting journalists when I'm pitching a story that I felt works really well. So again, around efficiency and time management, I will upload that template into AI and say, look, this is the template I use. Please craft me my follow-up email to the journalist based on this structure. So I know it works. I know it gets a response, and it just helps on that side. And then the final part of that, the E, is all around expectations. So really be clear with the AI exactly how you want it to be, how you want it to respond to you, how you want it to be delivered. So again, for myself, I think about word count. So is it long form? Do I want it to be between 700 and 1,000 words? Do I want it to be a short form blog? Really just getting to the key facts around an event, in which case I say I only want it to be 300 to 500 words. So really sort of give it the expectations of what you want. Now again, I suppose with AI, there's the sort of the misconception around, like, it's all about, it's super quick, it's super easy, but what you're doing if you're applying this GCSE model effectively is that you're investing that time into crafting the prompt, so you're not going back and forth all the time. There's all this there's a lot of sort of server power being used around AI models, but I think just before obviously we started the podcast today, my computer was having a meltdown because I was using AI in multiple tools.
Yeah.
So the less you prompt, the less energy you're using, and obviously that makes it greener in that regard as well. But slightly off track there, but GCSE model is a great way to go.
Yeah, I think what I particularly, because obviously there's loads of different models for prompts. One that's been shared on the pod before is the goal prompt, just very similar. But I think what I like about the GCSE one specifically for the care sector is that emphasis on sources, because the level is so high for us in this sector of accuracy, getting your facts straight, as well as that point around plagiarism. I do really like that GCSE model. I think that's
works really well. I've got a prompt I could read to you if that's helpful for the listeners, to give an example.
Go on, that's great.
Right, so this was a prompt I gave to the AI when we were talking about World Book Day back in March. And it reads, please write me a Facebook post, 100 to 150 words, celebrating the success of our World Book Day event. The event took place on March 6th at the Burlington and was attended by 28 pupils from Saxon Primary School. The children spent time with residents who came dressed as their favourite characters. They read to the residents and talked to them about their favourite books when they were little. Resident Josephine said it was lovely to see the smiles of the young children and enjoyed reading their favourite stories dressed up as their favourite characters. Please quote this. Please also talk about why intergenerational experiences are important and the benefits to care home residents and children. Information about World Book Day can be found at worldbookday.com.
Yeah,
so lots of detail in there. Yeah,
and you can tell immediately, from that prompt, you're going to get something which is completely unique. It's the very opposite of the AI dross.
Please write me a post about World Book Day.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really nice. What we'll do is, if you're happy, we'll share that prompt just as an example for folks. Okay, really cool.
If you're ready to go into a bit more depth, including how to build your own brand voice GPT, then check out our new resource. It's called 5 Simple Ways to Get Started with AI and Social Care. And it's super practical, super straightforward. Find everything you need in there to start putting in some steps that will make a huge difference to your organization. Just check out the link in the description below. All right, back with the pod.
Yeah, one other little point I wanted to make, just coming back to what you were saying, just about the efficiency, because it takes work at the start to create lots of prompts, but it's about building systems, isn't it? And then kind of becoming more and more efficient. And so, just another simple point is making sure that you keep your library of prompts in the same place. It's accessible by all the team. It's nicely divided into folders, just so you're building up that resource of really good prompts that people can take. Adapt.
Yeah, it's experimentation. Not every prompt is going to give you the right response in the first go. And I think something that something I always refer to ChatGPT and the other AIs we use as my marketing assistant, because it's not just a one-way conversation, is it? Often Chat will turn around and say, would you like me to tweak the tone of this? Would you like me to expand on the benefits? And actually you can work together as a team, to help elevate and enhance what you are doing. I think this is, again, when I speak to Amit, our founder, he always references AI as, it's all about elevating our efficiency. It's always about enhancing our intelligence. I feel that I'm a much better marketer, a much more intelligent marketer, because I embrace AI. It's opened up new ideas, and I've learned a lot from its support and guidance along the last couple of years as well. But there's, as we sort of said at the start, there's no replacing of human imagination in this. So when you're reading back the responses, it's just making sure you're doing it with an open mind, and then allowing yourself to have that conversation and push it. There's nothing wrong with saying to the AI, no, that's not right, I want more of this, and you can just really push it and challenge it sometimes. But
I think one
amazing,
other really helpful hack or tip, or however you want to put it, is just saying at the outset, kind of laying out your prompt, but also kind of saying, before you give me an answer or an output, are there any questions that you want to ask to just clarify around this before we start? And in
Definitely.
that way, it just stops you going around the houses to get there. You can just clarify. It will help you clarify.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it says again, it's that question I'll use quite often. It's like, am I missing anything? What's missing from this? And then it might say, oh, actually, it could do with a resident quote. So I'll go to the team and say, look, I'm writing your blog at the moment. I think we're missing this. Can we try and get that in? But also, if you're using ChatGPT and you're building out some of your own bits and pieces, I'm just grabbing it up here. There's a really useful, you can give the AI instructions, because again, what I found, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have seen, is that it can be quite affirming. And if you speak to it enough, you can sort of feel that, oh my God, what I'm doing here is absolutely amazing, because Chat absolutely loves it. So one of the things I'll tell the AI to do is to say, is not to simply affirm my statements and assume what I'm telling you is correct. I want you to be, my intellectual sparring partner on this. I want you to be my digital agency. I want you to be my marketing consultant. So be constructive, be rigorous, but don't just argue me with the sake of it, and just try and coach it to give you a balanced response, really.
Yeah. I do like that, particularly speaking as someone who's quite needy. I do benefit from the affirmation, and it can be
it's lovely. It could be a real cheerleader. Exactly. If I'll read something, it'll tell me. I'll be like, it'll go, oh, that's fantastic. What an amazing piece. You're nearly there. And I'm thinking to myself, it really isn't. Like, this is why I've come to you. Like, come on, let's be objective about this. So you've got to coach it, and this is it. If you whether you're using a free model, or whether you're like I do, sort of have a premium model that you sort of within your AI, is it learns from you over time. So the more you use it, the more it understands you, and the more of a useful tool it can be.
Okay, so we've kind of hit that, I think, really helpful first step, and just some good practices around creating content. We haven't touched on safety. Let's do that in a bit, just to make sure we've kind of covered that off. But I do want to talk about what's a kind of good next step, and one example you gave, sort of, if we're going to level up would be
Mm.
something around creating your own brand voice GPT.
Yeah, so I mean that was a real game changer for us. So again, about 9 months ago, 10 months ago, I was experimenting with ChatGPT's custom GPT models, and started playing with different sort of ways that we could customize it further to try and avoid some of the sort of duplication or similarities between other posts that might be going out there. So within the custom GPT, I fed in our brand tone of voice. I fed in our ethos. I fed in our values. I gave it examples of past blogs that we had created and applied the AI sandwich to, and really just gave it as much information about who we were as a brand, who we were as a provider, the awards we'd run. That just spent probably about 2.5 hours really just chatting with the custom GPT creator, so it really understood how we were. So things like using different terminology. So we say nostalgia care as our dementia care communities. We say team. We don't say staff. We talk about the residents. We don't say our residents. All of these little sort of inflections and nuances that make sort of boutiques comms boutique. And then we created 2 out of those. We created one which was for social media, and then I've created one for us to use at head office, which is around PR. So again, the social one is more tailored towards short form. We tell it the type of emojis we want. So we like to use the green heart. We're a green brand. We use that a lot. So again, we always ask it to feed it in things like hashtags. So it will always say hashtag boutique care homes. It will always say hashtag care so good it's unexpected. We ask it to give a angle around. So if it's a care related post, we'll also ask it to give a couple of lines on why this is a benefit to dementia care, or why this is a benefit here. So yeah, that's been really helpful. And again, with the PR one, again, simple things like always close the blog with, to discover more about XYZ care home, please visit this webpage. Please call this number. And we've fed in the tracked call numbers. We've fed in the tracked links, all to help craft that and make it as boutique-y as possible.
Yeah. Okay. So immediately we can see how that's saving you tons of time in the long term. That you're having to do far less on the last bit of the sandwich in terms of like tweaking tone or anything around that. You're covering that off right from the start. That's a huge. It's such a useful tool for teams, isn't it? And so
Definitely.
and I think the examples point is so important, like having at least sort of around 5 or 10 like really good examples of social posts, so that it knows, okay, this is the sort of thing you want. Okay, that's really great. And I guess just some. Can you just perhaps give us some? So first of all, I guess people need a paid account, don't they, to be able to create those? They need. And then how do you? And then do you? You said you share that across the team. So would you have? Is this like a team account for ChatGPT, for example? Is that how you?
So with the model, so I have a premium account sort of centrally, so which has enabled me to create these GPTs. But the team at the care home, so our admissions managers, our lifestyle leads who run our social media, they don't need a paid account for that. They just need a link to this GPT. And what's been really great is that everybody within our homes is a unique individual, and we've all got different strengths and different areas of weaknesses. But what the GPT allows us to do is make sure that our brand voice and the experience that customers have in terms of that two-way communication on Facebook, it's consistent. So it doesn't matter if Jude is posting, or if Holly is posting, or if Kirsty's posting, or if I'm posting on their behalf, that experience is consistent. So just to be able to invest that time into creating the GPT, really making it specific to your brands, and then rolling that out to the teams with guidance and with support in using it has just made if you search the hashtag care so good it's unexpected into Facebook, you've got that whole journey over the last say 6 to 9 months of the team using it. And that quality of post, has been incredible. And, you can see an uplift in terms of engagement and conversations that people are having with us on Facebook now, which has been great.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Okay, that's really good. I think what I'm going to do, actually, I think I might even make a little video, like a how-to guide, and maybe I'll I'll get you to share your prompt on that one as well. Who knows? Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah,
But I
I will
think that
do.
would be
No
super
problem.
helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we touched a little bit there on, you started talking about training staff in using these tools. How have you sort of gone about that? Is it just sort of in the moment training, or is it, have you got everyone together and done more formal training?
It's a bit of both. So once we created the GPTs, and I was happy that they were in a state where they were usable. I'll come on to some of the tips in a minute around, because it's not the silver bullet ultimately. There are things you have to be very aware of, because there are risks around it. But initially, we got all of our home managers, our CRMs, our lifestyle team, our senior management team together, and we did a simple 1 hour webinar, Teams call, talking through these models, talking through everything that we've chatted about, showing them a live working example of how these GPTs roll, and then just ask the team to experiment with it. Go out, play with it, send me your posts, and then it's just been ongoing coaching thereafter. And what we've seen is, now that team have started using it, they're thinking creatively about different ways they can use it within other areas of their roles, which I can absolutely talk about a bit later. But there are sort of 10 sort of key top tips really that I guess the team, we warn them to be mindful of. Fact checking is key, as I sort of alluded to earlier. AI does hallucinate, so it can. But it does it in a way that is really convincing. So you just got to be careful on that front. Some of its claims can be quite wild. It can be quite interesting. I've just there was a post that I'm putting out for Friday, which is sharing a video from when Sam Dondi Smith came down to Chartwell and did his book launch for Waiting for the Bus. I was asking it to create a post about sharing this video and the success of the event it was, and I turned around and said the audience was moved to tears. And I was like, come on, AI, you're overreaching here a little bit. So I had to bring it back and to sort of fact check some of those bits. So that's just, it's a silly example, but it's harmless, but it does change the context a little. Obviously the environment, as I said a bit earlier, just it uses a hell of a lot of energy. So, when we put our ESG, our CSR, our hat on is just being mindful of the impact that we have when we're using it there. Knowing your platform is key. So, if you're posting onto Facebook, if you're posting onto LinkedIn, if you're posting onto Twitter or TikTok, knowing your audience is key, and making sure you're prompting effectively, making sure you're sort of tailoring it for your audience. Being mindful of bias, AI can unintentionally reinforce stereotypes. So again, it's just being careful about what's coming out. Is that in line with your brand's ethical lens on ultimately? Things like something we advocate on the Dementia Friend size is not saying dementia sufferer. That's one simple thing. It's living with dementia, not suffering with dementia. Watching for repetition is another one. So AI loves a good repetition. Thrilled to announce is one that you see quite often. It loves certain words. So just be careful when you're doing long form, is just looking for that repetition, making sure that it's writing in a way that is true to your human authenticity. Those copy paste vibes come through quite strong. Obviously compliance, we're in a highly regulated sector, so be careful that what it's coming out with is in line with your own provider's policy. Making sure it's not making wild statements about what you do as an operator that isn't actually in line with your operational policy. So just be careful there. Obviously, again, other quick things would be making sure the information is up to date, that it's on trend. As I say, don't overly rely on it. Protecting resident and customer confidentiality. So we try to use, if I don't use things like, XX resident said, or I'll just put in first name of that resident, and then I'll populate other bits later just to keep that out of the model. And again, a great top tip would be around using AI to spark creativity. So use it as a brainstorming function before creating content is key as well. So yeah, those would be some
Lovely.
important
No,
ones.
really helpful frameworks there. Okay. So you got people
Sorry
in the
about that.
background. You got
I
fans.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a resident waving at me, so I have to wave
Oh.
back. Come on.
Yeah, very nice. Just I remember you had a nice story when we spoke before about a particular staff member who'd initially been kind of quite unsure about using this stuff and had kind of had turned around quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I do. Yeah, it's quite new technology is always scary, isn't it? It's always change is always hard. And there's simple models you can use around sort of change management, isn't there? Freeze, unfreeze, freeze, refreeze, isn't it? That's one I quite like, really. So it's about with this individual, it was about showing the benefits, sitting down practically and going, look, this is going to save you time, this is going to elevate your content, this is going to help you be more engaging, and then just sort of being that support over time to help them, encourage them using it step by step. And now they've sort of taken that, as I sort of alluded to earlier, taken that AI just beyond social media generation to helping them elevate their sort of their wider communication skill set. So taking complex sort of emails that they need to send out and helping the AI run through that and make it more concise, make it more direct, soften it if they feel it's coming across more challenging. And they've really embraced that AI bit. But it's always about ongoing coaching, because you can see the trend in some, as the language model learns, you can start spotting pure AI content quite quickly. So it's just keep reaffirming that AI sandwich approach, and it's the team have really embraced it, and you can see some big steps forward. So
Nice. So any other things you would like to say to kind of other care providers who want to train their staff but don't know where to start?
I think it starts with you as an individual first. If you're curious about AI and you feel that it's going to be a benefit to your team, is just get in there, get stuck in, and start playing with it. It's a tool in your toolbox. It's not, as I said earlier, it's not the silver bullet. It's never going to completely replace everything that you're doing, but it can be that extra resource in your team that can really sort of help spark those different ideas and just streamline your process. We work in a 365, 24/7 sort of sector, and there will be times where everything is coming at you. I mean, we had this not last week, the week before last, with we had a good CQC rating come out. We had 4 sets of finalists and a win award come through. We had another award win the week before, and there was just for us, it was like, we've got so much content we need to create. Where is all the time going to be? And actually, because we'd embraced the AI, it means that we were able to get that content out quickly, creatively, and in a way that was on brand and quality, that we would never have been able to do unless we had that AI aspect embraced. So for other providers, let's say, get in there, get stuck in, get confident with using it yourself, learn yourself about your own little tips and tricks, because what works for me might not work for somebody else. And then when you're at that stage, is like looking within your team, like who is going to become an advocate for you, who can be an ambassador of change for this new way of working, get them involved. And then once you've got them involved and they're happy with the way that you want this system to work for you, is then taking it out to the wider team. It's just little steps.
No, I like that. Just those, it's how you build a good culture, isn't it? Is picking those folks that are gonna help you and be curious. Okay, so boutique care homes, you've got 3 care homes at the moment, with another one kind of on the way towards the end of the year. So you're a fairly small provider, but I know you've got like big vision, big kind of a big heart, and lots of big ideas. Tell us a bit about your tool you're working on that's for care seekers.
So as you say, so we've got 3 operational homes currently. Burgess Hill, Kemah Hall's opening at the end of the year. There's another one next year down in Hive, and then there's another 2 or 3 on the way thereafter that we've already announced. So there's a big period of growth coming. And I've been looking at different ways that we can utilize sort of digital systems and different AI models to help care seekers along the way. So something we've been building sort of in my spare time really is a little sort of GPT model called Collie. Collie, as many of our listeners may know, is a type of dog, and a dog that is usually associated with herding and shepherding sheep. So the idea of Collie is that she is she's your care home scout. She will go out to market and she will look at all of the different sources where care homes are listed, be it carehome.co.uk or Lottie or CareSourcer, Google, multiple other directories are provided, and she can consolidate those tools into one place. So what, I guess, is the question. There's lots of tools that can do that, but I think what we've been able to, or what we're currently doing with Collie is building a level of empathy that actually I think AI is becoming better at with every passing week. And Collie will ask questions around, tell me more about your dad. What did he used to do as a career? What did he used to do as a hobby? And when Collie goes out onto the internet, it will look at, oh, okay, Brampton Manor has got some press releases that they've had published about intergenerational activity. I understand that your dad used to be a teacher of primary school. Maybe this home will be relevant because they do lots of intergenerational stuff. So, or it might turn around and say, oh, I'm really sorry, that sounds like you're going through a really tough time. Would you like me to find some support guides on dementia care, or would you like me to find some support references on stroke? So it goes beyond just finding a care home. It's almost allowing the care seeker to have an interactive experience, almost like a bit of a digital admissions manager in some way, just having a bit more of a human connection behind that initial search. I think when Lottie's report came out, care seeker report came out in February, it was something like 96-97% of all searches start online, and as as society naturally shifts to using AI as their primary search tool, whether it's Collie or other models that will no doubt appear, I'm sure CRMs.co.uk and Lottie are going to be absolutely building their own AI models in the future. That sort of empathetic AI model that can help be more than just a simple Google search will ultimately help. And through that, it's about looking at how can providers incorporate that way of communicating within their own websites. I would say.
And you mentioned as well something, I think it was called Boutique Care IQ. Is that the same thing, or was that a different resource?
Well, it sort of all comes into that sort of same train of thought. Again, like many providers, we want to build up our own bank of content, our own bank of resources. So it's about like looking at simple things like dementia care fact sheets, nutritional hydration fact sheets, recipes for smoothies to help with hydration, lots of different, I mean, the possibilities are endless in terms of content that you can create. But again, it's about looking at how we can use AI to, again, make that process more efficient. So, is it, it could be a 15-minute webinar with a home manager talking about ways a family can support a loved one with dementia at home, taking that video, putting it into AI, asking AI to analyze that content, create a blog out of it, create a fact sheet out of it, and then using AI to again be more efficient in saying, well, look, we've created this one piece of content, how can we chop it up into a dozen different ways or half a dozen different ways, and then use something like Boutique Care IQ, whatever name we land on, and then embed that into the website to then support care seekers to access that using some sort of AI agent, perhaps, to help direct people to that.
Okay. I think what I really like about that is the empathy part of it that you're talking about, like using, because like you say, with care seeking, it can be quite functional in terms of I need something with, there's this type of care in this area, and it, it can get quite.
It can be transactional, can't it?
Yeah, transactional. Thank you. Whereas I think what you're talking about is something which much more kind of draws on people's stories and their personal interests and that kind of thing. I think that feels like the future. That feels like a huge part of where kind of care seeking could go.
Definitely. I mean, our whole, care so good it's unexpected is ultimately rooted in, it's a feeling. We did it when we did our brand refresh a couple of years ago now. The first thing we did with our agency is we spoke to, many, many, many different residents, lots of team members, lots of family members, and asked them, why boutique? What made you choose us? What was it? Why are we different to the care home down the road for you? Lots of providers build stunning, modern purpose-built care homes, but what made the difference to you? And ultimately it came down to the feeling that we provide. It's about the sincere belief that care is more than just a service. It's a profound feeling of comfort, security, and genuine connection. And linking that into the care seeker experience before they engage with us, on a human to human level is vital. We've looked at things like chatbots, and we've looked at live chat before, and they're fine, and the live chat, if they're piloted by the admissions managers, are great. But what happens if they're doing a family visit and someone's trying to engage? There's a disconnect, there's a potential service lag there. The chatbots that can, are some of the ones that we've looked at certainly can be quite, again, coming back to that transactional, what are you here to do? Is it recruitment? Is it a brochure download? And I think now we're getting to the point with the ability to build out your own AI agents, and actually building that heart into the AI. I think now's the time that actually I think that's really going to take that digital care seeker experience really 10 steps forward in terms of what it can do or has been able to do in the past.
Yeah. All right. That feels like a pod for another day, going into agents. That doesn't fit into our
Let me develop it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back.
But I think you touched on it a little bit there, but I'm just interested in any other kind of areas that you feel are kind of perhaps sacrosanct, like we just think, oh, let's not get AI in here, or AI is never really going to replace this.
I mean, I'm pretty open-minded when it comes down to AI and its application to care. I mean, obviously, I listened to your last podcast, the most recent one that came back, and about where we were talking about how AI is going to be needed to get your good CQC, and I thought that was really profound, and wholeheartedly agreed with what was being said there. I mean, there are some incredible platforms out there, like again, without other providers are available, like Predicare. Their flow that they've developed. Obviously, there was Emma last pod as well that does something very similar. That from a care delivery perspective, it's just outstanding. Again, every care team member, every person that sort of calls our care homes their place of work has different levels and abilities when it comes down to data, numeracy, literacy. Lots of everyone is has different skill sets, but the AI's ability to be able to create a level playing field in terms of looking at data, spotting trends in terms of care delivery is fantastic. I wouldn't say there's necessarily anything off limits at this stage, because I think the true potential is still to be realized. I think there's always more to come. Certainly from a marketing perspective, and we've talked about sort of social media, we talked about PR, we've talked about care, a little bit on care seeker journey. I think the one area that I almost backtracking myself there as it now comes into my mind is images. I am wholly invested and passionate about making sure that every single photo that involves a team member or a resident on our website is actually our resident, or is our team member. We spent 3.5 weeks doing photography last summer at each of our care homes, with an incredible wedding photographer who was able to use long lenses, capture beautiful lighting, and really get those truly intimate moments between residents and team. And I think that really captures a sense of authenticity that I don't think AI can get. It does a great job, and it can create some wonderful images, but I just think it doesn't quite capture the soul and heart of a resident and a team member locked in a moment of pure joy that we can get in real life. And I don't think AI image generation has the sincerity that it needs just yet. It can't get fingers right either.
People with 8 fingers. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a really good note to end on, I think. I think just emphasizing that AI has its limits if we want to be creating content or just general communication that is human, making human connections, then it's got to work sort of for us and
Yeah.
not be taking over. Okay.
We're all
Fantastic.
carers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if you're a carer or in hospitality or a housekeeper or on sales and marketing. We are carers first. But the way that we communicate and support people outside our homes is key. And I think, as you say, you know, using AI as a way to enhance and elevate what you're doing in terms of communicating and ultimately helping people find the best care home for their loved one. You know, never lose sight of that when you're using AI.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. That's it for today. I'm David Mance, founder of Frank Care Marketing, and I hope you join us again next time for AI in Social Care.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember to pick up our free resource, 5 Simple Ways to Get Started with AI in Social Care. You'll find the link in the description below.